All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Helm Developer Call, Thursday, July 24th. Uh, just a reminder, this call follows the CNC of Code of Conduct, so please be polite and ideally nice to each other. And the call is recorded, so if you don't want to be on camera, then hide yourself. All right, so we'll jump into today's agenda. We don't have any announcements on the list, but if anybody's any last moments. All right, no announcements. Discussion that copy structure has been archived.
Yeah, so copy structure is one of the many projects that Mitchell had, and when he um, left or retired from HashiCorp, he said, "I'm not working at any of this stuff any longer." He basically archived it, and now he's off doing all his coding, having fun in Zig, working at Ghosty, and flying his airplane around the country and having a wonderful life. But that means copy structure is no longer maintained and it's archived. And we have it as a dependency, might be transitive. There's a lot of things, even in the Kubernetes space. I think Kubernetes has um, uh, 28 uses of it across different projects, right? And it's out there, probably very low maintenance, but it is an archive project. So I thought I'd bring it up here before I start taking it elsewhere to say, any thoughts on handling this? I mean, it's pretty easy to make a fork and point back and then just do minimal maintenance on it. Um, and I'm happy to set that up with others if there's anybody here who's interested. But using an archive dependency is probably not a great idea because then you can't even handle things like CVEs in it.
Um, I do have a thought actually. I did notice when I was doing the WASM plugin work that it is super inefficient. I was experimenting with performance of copying values and charts in and out of a WASM, well, actually implementing the engine as a WASM module. And it blew up the WASM runtime because of the number of like tau calls it made. And even in native Go, to copy, roughly the number was a 44 kilobyte JSON file. So if someone has large values, it was taking like 500 megabytes of memory and it was quite slow. So my 2 cents would be to replace it with something more efficient.
Okay.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
I did take a look at what it would take at one point. I think we would just need to implement our own map string deep copy implementation, which wouldn't be very tricky. In fact, AI could probably spit this out today in about 4 minutes. So that would be my um, my input here.
Okay. Yeah, I had never looked at the how efficient it was. And if there's a much more efficient way to do the same thing, that would be very, very useful because, doing a deep copy isn't always the easiest, but it was never optimized. So what's this project hash structure? Because hash structure is different from copy structure.
Yeah, I copied the wrong link. I'm deleting that one. This is what Mitchell wrote down in this list. So just something
Yeah,
for
yeah,
like invest.
absolutely. And I went there first to see whether there was a blessed fork of copy structure.
Yeah, yeah.
And there isn't. So, and if you look at forks out there doesn't actually seem to be forks of this. It's not like a bunch of people went out there and created forks that they're maintaining and working off of, and there's some blessed or great direction. Turns out a lot of people still just have that as a dependency, and they're just not dealing with it.
Exactly. If I'm not wrong about this, I think we only use this in um we only use this in our uh coalescing and the dependencies.go. So when we do our basically coalescing stuff, so we have this deep copy map func that uses it.
Yeah.
So I think we're not using most of what it does is I guess what I'm trying to say. And
Yeah.
we don't given the offense. I remember this issue, George, when George and I were looking. Well, George was like, basically we were doing all this benchmarking stuff, or rather, George was doing benchmarking, and I was doing some of it, and we were like talking with the anyway, basically talking with the Flux folks about like some of their concerns about efficiencies and like trying to get some real numbers. Anyway, maybe we should just do the thing that we want to do and just write something very simple.
Okay.
Yeah, because like if I'm here we go. Well, anyway, I mean, obviously you can do a search, but it's basically just like we're just like getting a copy of values in our deep copy map function, and then inside of our coalescing, we're also doing a copy values. So we're just kind of like
I have a question, if I may. If we're gonna do this, is it Helm v4, let it ride in Helm v3, and then
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I would just do this in Helm v4, which is why I brought it up. Yeah, in this case, the difference is we're talking deep copying. That's the thing that often gets overlooked, is a lot of the copying that happens inside of Go is shallow copies. So you end up with pointers, and if you modify things in one place, it modifies them in another. It's not a deep copy. And the whole idea of copy structure is you're actually getting a deep copy of it all the way down. So you can change it in different places and not screw up the original. And that's the functionality we still need to get. In this case, it uses reflection to pull off walking over an interface to figure out what the heck's there and deep copying it. And I have no idea I haven't even looked at the code to see how to make that more performant.
Yeah, I didn't get as far as writing a replacement and benchmarking it. My take from looking at flame graphs and what it was the reflect column switch for the slowness. So I did anticipate that a more streamlined use that word implementation would avoid performance problem that I found, but I haven't measured that, so I could be wrong.
So
Yeah.
So as a group, our action item would be to write our own, and someone create an issue and we write our own. Is that our action item?
I was just thinking we should investigate that since we're using it very sparingly.
Yeah, and we do, as to Scott's point, we use it for a particular case, which is copying values, not a general case of where we need we're copying like arbitrary things. We say like blocks or something.
Yeah, exactly. We know exactly what we're copying in this case.
It's values. So it can be anything that comes in from YAML. So you're talking numbers, you're talking strings, booleans. You've got a whole bunch of different things that you're going to have in there. Now, you're not going to have every random struct in the world because those won't necessarily be in there. But it's essentially going to be anything that gets translated with YAML or JSON parsing. All of the types of things that can come up in there will need to be handled.
Yep, certainly. But the good news is these are all primitive. There's maps, lists, and the primitive types.
Yeah. Yep. So there may be a much easier and more performant way to do this and remove that dependency. So George, did you say you wanted to take a look at this?
I can. It just won't be for a couple of weeks.
Okay.
I wonder if Kubernetes code generator would be useful for just building deep copies.
That's a good question because they do a bunch of stuff. And I haven't looked at how they do it there to see if it's performant or what they do. In our case, the values can be different every time, which is where I think there might be a problem because this is expecting, a lot of the Kubernetes expects the same structure, and ours chart to chart, it's every time it's different. So you have to be able to inspect that on the fly.
Makes sense.
In terms of timeline, this is something that is a refactor that can happen after the code freeze, right? Or sorry, after the feature freeze for the pre-release.
Probably just because you're not changing any features, you're swapping out a dependency, and it's all hidden away from public interfaces and everything. It's probably fine.
I would think it's the high level behavior the user expects is a deep copy. How we do it is the implementation.
Yeah. Okay. That's it on that one.
Okay, next on the agenda. Sorry. We got Terry. We've got other Debian repository issue. Do you want to
Yeah,
run through or do we
right.
do?
I'm unrelated to this ticket. I just wanted to bring it up, I guess, if we can help out, I guess, with social media or what the normal procedure might be here. I think it's just announcing a move.
Yeah, my take is the guy is free to deprecate a movement whenever he wants, so we should try and be helpful here. I think we should try and announce it on social media, like Terry says. I don't know what else we can really do.
I'll suggest two things. One, we do a blog post. I mean, we can do a blog post on the Helm blog, things like that to amplify it there. The other thing we can do is the CNCF. They've gone through different newsletters, right? They've had Cube Weekly and newsletters. If I understand it right, they're going to be relaunching their newsletter. And it may be a suggestion of something we can give to them just as a suggestion to put in. I don't know if it'll land, but we could pass that to them as a suggestion. And once the details are up, I'm even happy to pass that along.
Yep.
Because finding that channel is not easy or self-evident right now. In fact, I'm bugging them about that.
So I guess the follow-ups here would be we can update this ticket with we'd like to broadcast social media and newsletter possibly. And ideally he can keep this hanging around for another month or so. Sounds like he's probably paying a bunch of hosting costs, which he doesn't have to.
Yeah.
And then we'll filter it off at some point and people will break and then hopefully they can find the replacement easy enough.
Yeah.
Yep. Anything else on that one? Thanks. Bring it up, Terry. Karen, are there any things for Helm?
Yeah, so I reached out to CNCF about doing something kind of for Helm 4 with the birthday, which is going to be like the North America Cheap One. That was when they first released the first Helm. So anyway, I think to Matt's point, there's a lot of changes happening at CNCF right now, and they were just kind of like, hey, like if you like they were kind of asking us what we wanted to do, as opposed to like what they've done for other projects in the past. And then they also were like, if you want to do something, it might be easiest if one of like the companies just wants to do it. So anyway, I think at this point we're still kind of at the ideation point, and I wanted to see if there are any like themes that are emerging for Helm 4 that we can kind of brainstorm off of to figure out what we want to do. Like, yeah, because yeah, so far I was just like, can we get cupcakes at the very least? And I don't think I've heard back. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of get this going and kind of see if, yeah, if there's anything that's like obvious that we can play off of.
More test coverage.
Test coverage is exciting, Robert. I agree.
Hey, listen, guys. You know I love test coverage. When it hits 100%, I'm going to just shot the mic and I'm out. But no, we have logging. We think Ambrose did a bunch of stuff in there as well. So I mean, to say there's one thing, I think there's just general improvements all over. So
Yeah, I think we'll know soon, for sure, at the end of next month. But
Yeah. Feature
Sorry.
freeze is the end of next month. So when feature freeze is done, if there's an exciting feature that has landed, we'll be able to know then.
yeah, like with one, yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right.
Hopefully the pluggable stuff we can highlight pluggability, and I can plug some of those cupcakes into my mouth.
All right, just throwing this out there, kind of let all of your creative juices start flowing. All right, I guess I'll circle back in a month. Yeah, thanks.
And if it's
Thank you,
helpful,
Karen.
I know you're in conversations with the marketing team at Replicated who like is donating some, like helping out with some marketing related funds and stuff. So
Yeah, I'll circle back with them too.
I don't know if there are other companies doing that now, but yeah, doing it now too.
Alrighty. Last item on the agenda is I know as much about this one as Scott, so the internal. So currently, as we're making this plugin code, we're wondering how much of it we could put to be internal versus how much we leave in the public SDK. And two things come to mind. One is the more things we have internal, the more we can evolve the implementation beyond the initial work. We certainly need to satisfy, if anybody's using plugin code today, they need the equivalent functionality for the Helm 3 to Helm 4 upgrade. We can't just cut people off, of course. But we want to get people's thoughts on how much we to draw the line of how much we can put into the internal versus public interface.
All right, so I'll give you my 2 cents because I'm opinionated here. Because this is new, right? Just like what I'm doing with the charts v3 stuff, it's new. My thought is to put a lot of it into internal, so that way we can involve, because you can change API interfaces in there later. You can play around with things. You can do you can do what's normally breaking changes. But in the public side, we have to make it functional. So let's say somebody else is going to do a CLI, right? So we moved command into the package directory so somebody else can attach it to their own CLI. That CLI should be able to execute plugins. So we have to make enough of it public so that it's useful to people, if that makes sense. And then I think over time, and we did this previously with OCI as well, once it was stable, then we started to move the internal bits to be public when we didn't think it was going to change. So the building blocks that we might move around, those could change later. Or those, people could use those building blocks later in their own code if they needed to, things like Flux and stuff like that. But I think enough of it needs to be public so that it can be functionally used.
So this would be fairly close to my sentiments. I would take one step further. I like the idea of writing your internal implementation and then deciding what you're going to expose publicly, which may not be a one-to-one mirror of your internals. So that you've at least got some sort of like public API, which is extendable and useful. And then you got your internal guts, which can evolve as your needs evolve.
Yeah, I'm really happy to hear you say that, Matt, because this is why I brought this up, because, well, because of the role that you volunteered for and everyone signed off on, with you being the release engineer, you get to make these kinds of calls. And I know we all want the community to stay coherent, or excuse me, cohesive, right? We don't want people to be like mad, like, hey, I was using that public function to do some weird use case or whatever. At the same time, what I'm hearing from what you're saying makes a lot of sense to me, because, sorry, it makes a lot of sense, and it reflects my sentiment too. And what I think we need from that is in order to make it usable, we need to describe what we think the use cases actually are. Right? Like, what are people supposed to be doing with this, right? You want to, like, say with a plugin, you want to install the thing, or you want to, etc., right?
Yeah, and well, for a lot of this, it's also going to get into what is somebody who's building on Helm doing, right? Because the internal functions is going to be SDK users. So what are the SDK users going to do? What do we expect out of them? What do they do today? How do we still enable that to be possible? And that should be pretty straightforward, because there aren't a massive ton of different styles of SDK cases. You've got people doing things like GitOps. Go look at what the GitOps engines are doing, if they're even using plugins at all. You've got now the case of adding the Helm functions onto the Helm commands onto another CLI, right? So you can embed things in. And I can see something like K3S or something like that doing that, right? And so if they're going to execute functions, how would that work? Stuff like this is, I think, the use cases, and it's SDK users.
Exactly. We talked to the people running the controllers for Helm, and thank you. This is great. That's all I really wanted to hear.
Okay.
And there's also one other important point in the podcast that like it's a one-way door as well. If you make something internal and that was a mistake, then you can easily make it public. If you make something public and that was a mistake, you're stuck. Perfect. All right. I think that was the. Does anybody have last minute item to add to the agenda?
Only George, that there is a PR that you have out there that you worked on for a while for a significant amount of work for the server-side apply. I have not dug into I have looked it over, but I haven't really dug into reviewing it fully yet, but I intend to, and I guess this is a request for other people to look to, because I know there's going to be a lot of review coming up in the next few weeks.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. If it's too big, I can try and make it smaller.
We link the PR, so I can put it in the notes. I'm sorry, Scott. Can you link that for us?
Yes, I'll find it.
It's just down in the notes below.
Oh, thanks. Oh, and also, Matt, I noticed you, that was like a PSA, internal PSA. But Matt, I noticed you started the draft for the V3 plugin stuff. I'm not like that now because I know it's in draft still, but
Yeah, so this one is ready to be reviewed. This one, quite frankly, this pull request was I took the charts V2 stuff, copied it over, modified it for charts V3. So ripping out everything that was V1 and then converting all the V2 stuff to V3. So we have a fresh starting point of here's where we are today. We can start to modify from there. And I thought, you know what, I can do loaders and bring it into actions and all of that. But man, this is already over 300 files long. I want to take this thing that's essentially a copy and refactor over, make that a very simple one. And then once that's merged, then start to alter the way it's used through the code flow, because I think that'll be easier to review. And all of those changes will be much smaller then. And so make the big one should be super easy to review, just because it's what we already have. And then I modified tests and things like that just for the V3 stuff. But otherwise, the tests are going to look just like the V2 because it is just a copy over.
that was my plan, was to just do the diff between the two directories and review the diff. Okay, that makes sense. Quick question about the internal conversation. Do you think you would want to, when you do that move, do you think you would want to do that in a separate PR? Since
the move to public, you mean?
The move.
What do you mean the move?
The move for a lot of functionality to internal? Or did you
already do
that?
This is all in internal. This is all in internal. So the charts V3 I put in internal because I figure as long as it is an experiment, it'll stay in internal. When we remove the experiment and we say we're good with charts V3, in that release is when we take everything out of internal and make it public.
I didn't see that part. Thank you. Perfect.
So it's all in internal today. Yeah.
I got nothing else.
Already, we should do assignments. I would say one. I did stick references to our PRs in the maintainers chat. I don't know if people saw that note. For the plugins. If anybody else is interested in plugins work in progress, I can link those to someone. Moving on to assignments. Does anybody want to do moderator? Before we move on to assignments, there's no hit review, no shout out, no social media application except for what we've discussed about the DPN repository.
So I guess Karen about for social media about. Oh wait, did Karen already? Oh yeah, you're still here. When is the Did you write it down already? When the actual birthday is? Ish.
I mean, I guess, how do we want to count it? Like they released it at the first Helm Summit. Or sorry, not Helm Summit, sorry, first KubeCon in San Francisco. So I'm just kind of counting it as like the next. I can get a date. Is that what we want?
No, that's fine. So like basically the next KubeCon is what we're
Yeah.
thinking. Okay, I was
Yeah,
just
I mean,
curious.
that's the best time to probably do it is the next KubeCon. The big one will probably be well, sorry, yeah. So this is the 10-year, and it was actually in October is when the first commits were made. Which is just so close. I don't know if we want to do a blog post on the date of the first commits, or the weekend of the hackathon that it happened, and then we can celebrate it there. We've got time to talk about it because it's in October, but that's the 10-year.
I was just wondering, since we're on the social media, like breathing or like passing the social media question.
Yeah. First commit was October 19th, 2015.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should use that blog post to like maybe merge that with like sometimes we do a blog post before KubeCon to kind of also list like, what activities we have going on. So we can be like, hey, it's the birthday, and then come celebrate with us at KubeCon. And this is like all the places we'll be, and like this is where like the celebration activity will be. So that way we also get stuff out before then.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe we should plan a blog post for October 19th and a big thing and all the content. And maybe we should even try to sucker Butcher into some of that because I think he made the first commit. Now, the funny thing about this is the day of it is actually just like it's a Sunday this year. So we could release it on a Sunday and things like that and then promote it the following week. But it's a Sunday this year is the actual 10-year date from the first commit.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. I have to jump, so but I will not be here next week. And if you want to throw me down in PR review category, I'll be reviewing some PRs this week. But I have to jump.
Right, thank you. So on the subject, who else wants to moderate next week?
I'm on holiday, so I'm out.
I can do it.
Sorry. Who wants to do notes? I can do notes. Issue triage theory. I'm sitting myself down for PR review and that's it too. Anybody else for issue triage? Pool maintainers who can be present sounds like myself, Scott, and I think Robert, you said you're on vacation.
Yes, sir.
Right. Cool. We're 1 minute over, so we should finish up. Thank you all and have a good week. And see you next week.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.